business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Steve Ramona. Inspiration, motivation takes. Listen to the pod.
Welcome to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. Every episode is an invitation or reminder that business and life isn't just about profit, it's about purpose. It's about showing up with a servant's heart in every deal, every decision, every day. We're going to talk mindset today. My guest is going to blow you guys out of the water. I've spent 10 minutes, well, an hour before and 10 minutes today. Take some notes. Today's guest is going to light you up. You'll be motivated, you'll be challenged, and most importantly, you'll walk away with the tools that inspire action, both in your life and in your professional life. But before you dive in, here's your homework today, audience. Think about how you're going to serve yourself and someone else today. It doesn't have to be a big impact. Even a small act of kindness or courage can change that game. So lean in, as I said before, take notes, and let's discover how servant leadership in business can create ripple effects that last far beyond the bottom line. Quick shout out to my sponsor, Epic Impact, the 4-step storytelling framework that's transformed how I pitch, podcast, and post. It tells my story. If you're a coach, founder, or creative trying to connect with your audience, this is where you want to go. This is the secret weapon. Engage, persuade, inspire, and close. To get the Epic Impact framework, go to epicimpact.com. You get all the information you need. And a quick announcement, we just got named top 20 podcasts in small business marketing, and it's incredible guests like I have coming on today that have changed the game, changed the mindset of people to bring value, serve before anything else. Let's just bring my guest on because I'm fired up to have him on. Jon, welcome to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart.
Thanks, Steve. Great to be here. I love it.
Going through your stuff, I got to ask this question. You grew a company from 200 million to over 3.65 billion. I want to know, I know people listening going, how the heck did you do that?
How did I do it? I think you touched on it at the outset. I set my mind to do it. I pointed my mind in the direction. I didn't know how I was necessarily going to do it. And I hit so many challenges and unforeseen obstacles in doing it. My team had never done it, but we collectively did do it. And it was a mindset to do it. And it was the persistence to do it. And we did it. It was an incredible journey. I think about it a lot.
What's one tip on the mindset part that you could tell the audience that really took you guys over the top?
Yeah, I would say it's that persistence. It is to know that the road is going to continue. Even when the road is dark and the challenges seem great, you just keep moving forward. Just keep moving forward no matter what. And the day is going to be. You're going to bring a new day. The sun's going to rise. And you just don't know. So you just got to keep peeling back that onion and working towards your goals. There's just no shortcuts.
You talked about team, which community, team, tribe. There's many words for that. Was that an important aspect of this growth as well?
Oh, it was incredibly important. And I reflect on it a lot. I keep in touch with a number of my former team members. I'm working with a few of them today. And I used to say, my team was, I called us, we were all toys from the island of Misfit Toys. I don't know if you're familiar with that, and Frosty the Snowman, but, or no, was that Rudolph the reindeer? Rudolph, I think it was Rudolph. It was Rudolph. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I felt like we were all, from the island of Misfit Toys, but yet we somehow coalesced, and we relied on each other, and we told each other we would succeed, and we taught each other the principles of keeping your mind right and working hard and going the extra mile and finding a common language and a bond that we all wanted to achieve success in life. And it was up to each of us to do that for ourselves. And then together we could create a collective success in the form of the organization. So that was an incredible opportunity to work with and build a team and really give I think some individuals the empowerment that they could take with them for the rest of their life to continue. Because as I say, this won't be your last job, and so if you can gain something that will take you to the next phase of your life in any job or employment experience, then that's a great thing to impart on others.
The other thing you mentioned that you're working with some of these people now is building that relation. What a lesson building relationships with your team. Not going to be everybody, but the more you can do that, even though you're the top guy, there's no top guy in a team. There's everybody. How do you build relations with your team members?
Yeah, look, and just to be clear, I've had some teams that have blown up on me, and led to my termination as the CEO and founder of the next company, which was weird. And I wonder, I'm like, what happened there? So even when you think you kind of know how to build a team, and it's always a journey. So I guess. Getting back to your question, I mean, what is it that builds a team? It's communication. It's an active engagement and communication with that team. I always want to be super forthright in my communication. I don't like to, sugarcoat the news. I mean, I like to bring people real information at real time so they can act on it. So I think that was it. And even when that team that I'm mentioning kind of blew up on me, it was just a few rotten eggs at the end of the day that somehow convinced a board that, was in a shaky position. And I think the rest of the team was like, huh, what happened? And why I mention that is because I think the team as a whole, we created this incredible culture. I built that team in COVID, during COVID, and we were completely remote. And yet we had this incredible company culture, which I found so fascinating, which was how could you build an active team and culture where people really felt connected, and yet we were all over the country. We were never in one office together, but that was very, very real. So while that at the end it kind of ended badly, but I think that was a few rotten apples in some spots. I think in general, that team was just like, this is just an incredible experience. And I do think it goes back to communication and engagement with team members.
The other word you said, you're such a smart guy. All right, everybody listen to this guy because you said empowerment. And that's what you did. I could tell what you're so proud to talk about your team because you empowered them. It's not about Jon. It's not about Steve. It's about everybody. I just love what you do. The other exciting thing I want to talk about is the book. You sent me the book. Oh my God. Yeah, I wear your hat everywhere. It's incredible. What's the mission, the main message of the book? What people are going to get from it, and how can they find it?
Sure. The book's called Healthy, Wealthy Longevity, The Good Things in Life for as Long as Possible. The book, I work in financial services. I've worked in and around the longevity industry for a long time. I've also been a student of self-help, self-improvement. How do we get what we want out of life? How do we get the right mindset? And how do we work through those challenges? And while I worked in the longevity industry, and I wanted to write this book around how the financial services industry was missing the boat on the importance of longevity with their financial products and services, my mother got sick right when I was starting my latest venture. And it brought home longevity in a way that I just wasn't prepared for. In that longevity, our own personal longevity, how long each of us are on this planet is the most finite and precious resource each of us have. And so if that is the case, which is the case, and I was reminded tragically of it today in some ways, and so in another way it was beautiful, but a good friend of mine at age 85 passed away in his sleep last night. And I was expecting to call him and have lunch with him this week because last time I spoke to him, he said, I want to read your book. And I was out of town and I was expecting to go have lunch with him this week. And I'm never going to be able to have that conversation with him to see what he thought of my book. So Larry, who was a hell of a guy, he passed, and just it reminds you how finite, how permanent. We as humans cannot process the finality of our own mortality or anyone else's for that matter, because it's our brains won't really allow us to do it, even though we can kind of go, yeah, we get it, blah, blah, but when it happens, it's really a different experience. So I wrote this book while my mother was sick. I was able to, I think, articulate, the fact that longevity is such a precious asset. And what is the formula? Is there a formula? What would it be? What does it look like to help you get as much out of life, whatever it is you want, as much of it for as long as possible? And I came up with my, a formula for that, and I articulate that. And I think it's all about increasing the odds. There's no sure things in life. So you just want to increase the odds, where when bad things happen, they're temporary setbacks versus permanent conditions. Because there's a difference. If you continually make bad decisions or decisions that are often, those become permanent conditions as opposed to a temporary setback. And so there is a formula. I believe I've articulated it. And so the book is about that, which is how to make, a bad situation a challenge, a temporary setback, and not a permanent condition, so that when you get to the end of life, you can look back and say, my life's been a dream, no matter what that journey was. You just want to be able, and that's what my mother told me when she was basically on her deathbed. She's like, I'm good. I'm not going to do chemo. I'm 84 years old. We're good, guys. Life doesn't go on forever. And we were like, what? So, but my life's been a dream. And that's what we all really want to say at that point.
What a beautiful mindset your mom had. Oh my God. I'm going to work towards that. And longevity reminds me of legacy. What's that you're going to leave to the world after you're gone? That's why I love what you do, because it should be important. That's why purpose and legacy go together. And a real quick story. My dad died a week after he worked out, did a full workout at 91 years old, and died in his sleep, and blessed that way. But I know if I could talk to him right now, just like if you could talk to your mom and talk to Larry, legacy. He was happy he lived so you're talking quality of life. Yeah. When I'm 91, am I working out in the gym, right?
Right. That's right.
What a feeling. What a feeling. How could people find the book and get access to the book?
It's on Amazon, Healthy, Wealthy, Longevity on Amazon. You can find me at Jon, Sabes, SABES.com. I've got my little prompt journals as well. That's what I've used to create my operating system of keeping my mind right, keeping my mind focused. And so I over the years have been developing that, and I was handing it out, and people have got I've got a lot of compliments. So I made that available. I kind of updated it and tied it into the book, and I call that In Pursuit of Happiness, because at the end of the day, as Benjamin Franklin said, we're all in pursuit of our own happiness. And so how do we, that each journey is unique and individual. So how do you best pursue it?
Yeah, I got some journals from you, and I've been using them, and yeah, when I look back, oh, holy mackerel! Oh, okay, I had a problem. Oh, okay, yeah, we don't look back enough, and I think we don't let that bother us, but we need to learn from past, right? Not bring it to today. Talk about your Ironman. Health and wellness are super important to you. I used to own health clubs, so I really resonate with you, and I've talked about my health journey. How important that for the people listening are entrepreneurs or business owners?
Yeah, I ended up starting to do endurance events, I guess. And I ultimately reached, the Ironman triathlon stuff. I've done 5 of those. I've done some ultra trail runs, so on and so forth. I think that the message, and I write about this a lot, which is, I think, again, you don't have to do Ironmans, but I think some form of physical activity, in particular, well, first of all, health is so important for entrepreneurs. And, people would always say too, what are you training for? And while I was training for an Ironman, but it was really by his training for life. As an entrepreneur, I needed the physical resilience to bring it every single day to my team. So for me, I'm training for life. I'm not, yes, the Ironman forced me to bike longer and run further than I would have otherwise done. I'm sure of that. But I really am training for life. And I really believe that I don't care if you've never done anything, then do a 5K. If you've done a 5K, try a 10K. If you've done a 10K, do a half marathon. What you learn is it'll get hard at some point, and you'll learn you have the ability in your mind to keep going. And that's the thing you need to learn. It's what we started the conversation on. You need to learn that you can keep going. You can keep putting one foot in front of the other, even though it's hurting, even though it doesn't, that's the thing you learn. And that's, to me, the core the core muscle that we as entrepreneurs need to learn and need to have. Then we need to bring our physicality into there. I mean, like, I work a lot. I work really hard. I get up really early. I spend a lot of hours focusing. So having the physical body to house this mind and keep it in a right frame of mind is just so incredibly important. And then finally, when you start doing long distance stuff, man, that's just when the ideas and the solutions start dripping on you. And that's where a long walk, a long run, a long bike, man, I would find solutions to my problems. It just drips. And so I would encourage anyone out there, if you haven't done it, just start walking, and just get out there, and that fresh air and circulating the blood. It's just, it's the secret. And I write about that. I mean, I basically say there's two keys to it. First is, well, there's three. First is on the top is keeping your mind right. And second is keeping your body, your body right through health. And second is applying that towards work and prosperity, because you got to have some level of prosperity in this land of milk and honey. It's a really tough place to live without any form of prosperity. I know people can do it, but I'm not, I don't subscribe to that. I do want some things out of, and so anyway, so that's the formula. And so how do you do that? Well, you keep your mind and your body right first.
Well, the training for life. That's why I love hosting podcasts. I learn from you, incredible guests. I'm going to start saying that instead of training for weight loss, which is part of the reason I'm doing it. I like life, because when I lose weight, get off my medicines, which I've done, and all this, and this, it's going to allow me to live a better life, which should be the goal for everybody. When it comes to this longevity, and people go, "Oh, Jon, I love what you're talking about, but I can't do it." And I want to add real quick a shout out before I just had a thought, I lost it. But when we first talked, we talked about walking and talked about health a little bit because of my fitness. You talked about walking. Since that day, which has been 4 or 5 weeks, we'll say 5 weeks, I've walked my dog pretty much every day for 26 minutes. The stuff that comes out of my head is blowing me away. So this is a shout out to Jon. He's absolutely right. I'm a living, breathing person from that. So go ahead and answer that question. Sorry.
Love it.
I had to say that.
No, I love to hear that. The question again, Steve, sorry. I was relishing the moment. I was relishing that moment to hear that God bless you. That's amazing. It's available to all of us.
You said take action. We talked about before the show. Who are people going to take actions? That's what I do. I'm not doing everything I take action. I know you don't either. We don't have to do that, but I love that, because I want people to see that. But we got AI and technology coming into our world pretty quick.
Yeah.
How do you bring that into this longevity part of the life of the business?
Yeah. Well, I think, going back to how do you think about longevity? I can't do it. I can't do it, Jon. I can't do it, Steve. Yeah. I mean, the fact is you can, okay? And so one of the key things, and I write about blue zones. I don't know if folks are familiar with this idea of blue zones, but these regions in the world where people lived longer, healthier, and were happier, measurably happier. And so what was it about these folks that enabled them to do it? Dan Buettner out of Minnesota, a fellow Minnesotan, a friend of mine, wrote about this stuff. And what I think he comes up with this really invaluable insight for all of us, which is set your environment up to nudge you towards the better choice. Okay, so that's how you make that longevity transition, towards healthier, wealthier decisions, is you can set that environment up. Now, what does that mean? It means all sorts of little things. These are, I call it, one of my favorite sayings is, how do you swallow the whale? One bite at a time. And like you said, I don't have any special, self-discipline. I'm as, if there's sugary, salty snacks, ice cream in my refrigerator at 10 o'clock, I'm hunting for the damn thing. Okay. So my point is, get that shit out of your pantry. Okay. Banish it. You literally just have to banish it. So you can set your pantry up to nudge you towards the healthy, put a healthier snack. Have some Greek yogurt, plain or vanilla or honey, and pour a little honey on it and eat that as opposed to the ice cream. Okay. Get rid of the pretzels. Okay. I mean, I love them too. And I will eat a whole bag of them in a single sitting. So put the shoes and put your walking shoes, your running shoes, in the dog leash next to the door or right on your desk. So you look at that and go, I got to go walk the dog. I'm going to do it. So those are little things you can do. Set that environment up small changes in your environment that set you up to make a better, healthier decision. And so I would encourage everyone to take just a little change of in their environment to set that default decision to the healthier decision. Because what happens in these blue zones is that these people are living in a way where they can't avoid doing the healthier decision. I mean, it is the default. They have to walk everywhere. They have to wash their own clothes. Why? They have no money and they don't have washing machines. And they live in hilly environments, so they're walking up and down hills all day long. They don't have sugary sodas and they don't have any money to buy them anyway. So they drink wine and they drink water, like this led to these individuals really living these extraordinary lives. And so that's the big takeaway from Blue Zones.
Yeah, Zac Efron has a Netflix, I don't remember the name, documentary with that guy. He walked through a Blue Zone walk with a guy that was a 99 walking up and down in Italy. And he'd go down, get his glass of wine, go back up and do what he's doing. He kept busy too. That's the other thing. Keeping busy, not laying behind the couch watching TV. We could go, we're coming to the end here. We can go all day with this. Can I bring you back for part 2 in a couple months? I'd love to have you back.
Oh, I'd love to come back. Absolutely. Thank you.
And this changes my mindset and accountability when I put it in public. People go, hey, did you bring Jon back? So I want to definitely bring that. But I know people listening, I know I might get emails and going, okay, I love everything Jon's saying. What's my first step? Like you said, what's that first step to all this, if any?
Well, your first step is know there is a path and a journey for you. Okay, so just know that. And so, what can you practically do? Again, clean that pantry out. Go to the store today. Stock your kitchen with some healthy foods. Set your walking shoes in front of the door. So you don't every time you walk past them, you go, I got to take a walk. Clean out your closet. Get rid of the trash. Declutter your life. So you can allow your mind to focus on what you want to achieve in life, so that you can do all of those things right now when you're done listening. And then buy the book, get the journals. Those are great tools, but they're not necessary. And I didn't buy the book to sell. I didn't write the book so I could sell them, and that's not why I did. But it's a tool there for you. And I'm here to help. Find me on social media, engage. I'm here. I'll come back. I'll do whatever I can to help others in their journey.
I love that. I know you've talked about 3 people like me. You sent the book to gratis. Here, read it, and it's such a great servant heart mentality, mindset that you get. See, people, it's not hard. If you look behind in the video, if you're watching this on YouTube, you see all the bikes, and he's living the life. You don't have to be to that level. You can go to a gym or do the walk, but please take that first step. Let's do the last question. It's my fun question. It's let's get to know Jon a little bit better. So I've got a reservation at a restaurant, table of 4. So you're going to sit in one chair and you got 3 empty chairs. Who's Jon invite to talk to for an hour or 2, whether dead or alive? And what food does he order for the table? Oh
man, I usually am prepared and I know these in advance. My 2 guests, I get 2 guests, dead or alive?
3. You get 3.
3. Oh shit. All right, I want Elon Musk. I want Elon Musk there for sure. Come on. I mean, ridiculous. I love this guy. I just, God bless him. Dead, I want Napoleon Hill. I'm a big Napoleon Hill fan. Think and Grow Rich. Napoleon teaches us how we all have agency to set our mind towards what we want. And I guess another alive guy, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I love Arnold. Arnold is just, talk about the American dream. So I'd love to sit down and hear him, hear his story of the American dream. So there's 3 guys I would love. What I'd order? I'd order some of that big steak. I'm a red meat eater. I believe in red meat. I'm not, so a big steak, and then people hate this one, but I love big pasta with egg dish. So I forget the name of it, but it's pasta with egg and Parmesan cheese, and that and pepper, and they put pepper on it, and it's so effing, and olive oil, and yeah, that would be my meal.
Thank you. It's getting close to lunchtime. I probably shouldn't ask that question. That's great. And I tell you, talk about 3 guys with a mindset that's unbelievable. Yeah, absolutely unbelievable. So I could see why you would invite those three people. Real quick, one more shout out how people can reach you, because I know people want to connect with you.
Yeah, Jon, Jon Sabes, SABES.com, and on all the social media platforms, wherever you are, you'll find me.
And we'll put that in the show notes too, audience, so you make sure you have it. Jon, thanks again for being an incredible guest on my show and taking the time.
Thanks, Steve. I appreciate you and everything you're doing.
Audience, here's your homework at the end. This is an easy one. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Love my subscribers. Here's the real reason. What we just talked about for the last 23 minutes is a life changer for you. But think about, you're listening to Jon and you share this podcast with somebody else. You subscribe, this podcast shows up in your email, wherever it shows up, and you share it with somebody who's struggling. And they go to jonsabes.com and they read something or read his book, and it changes their life. Think about that. That's the most wonderful gift we can give, is these great podcasts like Jon's. Share them like crazy. And it doesn't have to be my podcast. Any podcast you listen to that resonates with you to help somebody else, let's all make this impact in the world. And let's start with podcast. With that being said, me and Jon want to thank everybody for watching or listening to this podcast. We'll see you all in the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Have a great day, everyone.